A team of McMaster University researchers have been awarded nearly $1.5 million to further investigate COVID-19. The team is led by one of the country's top virologists. Did I say that right?
You did.
Virologist?
Yes.
I'm clearly out of my league here, but Dr. Karen Mossman joins us. She's Max VP of Research. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Uh, when you see what's kind of transpired over the last 4 years in the U.S., we had kind of 10 years of it in Canada prior to Justin Trudeau, and it's not about politics, but it is about science. When you're in the middle of a pandemic like we are, how important is it for a country to have leadership that embraces science?
It's really important because you always want to be making decisions based on knowledge, data, and because it's challenging. We realize resources are scarce, and so we always want to be making very informed decisions. And the best way to do that is to look at the data, look at the science. What's the most current information, and then try to use that to make as informed decisions as you can.
So tell us about your current research of the virus. Keep in mind, I can barely say the word virologist, so maybe explain it like I'm five here.
So my lab has always been really interested in understanding how viruses interact with their host. So how does a virus evolve? How does a host immune system evolve? And that really tells you a lot about the outcome of an infection. So why do some viruses make you really sick? Other viruses don't. And of course, once you understand that, you can use that knowledge to make new vaccines, new antiviral therapies. So this has been something we've been really interested in for a very long time. And so when the pandemic hit, it was an opportunity to really jump in and to get involved directly with SARS-CoV-2. Fortunately, we had a postdoc in the lab who had worked during his PhD out in Saskatchewan at Vito Intervac with pathogenic coronaviruses. So he had already from his PhD training a lot of experience with working specifically with pathogenic coronaviruses. So when the new COVID-19 hit, and we were trying with colleagues in Toronto to get the virus from patient samples, because if you really want to study the virus, you have to have access to the actual virus so that you can grow it and study it in a lab. It was really important that we had that individual who had that expertise. And so working with colleagues in Toronto, some clinician scientists, Aaron J was able to help isolate the virus. And so now that allows not just our lab, but labs across Canada who have a very specific type of facility called a containment level 3 facility to be able to ask all different questions on the virus. And it's that sort of collective type of work that allows us all to move forward collectively.
And so, what does the money mean then for the research?
So the money is really important because this was specifically to help with infrastructure. So it was from the Canada Foundation for Infrastructure, or Canadian Foundation for Innovation, which funds infrastructure. And so it's really important because to work in these level 3 facilities, for example, you have to have a very specific type of facility so that you keep both the workers safe, but that you also, contain the virus and keep everything, very sterile. So having access to really high quality infrastructure is really important in order to work safely with a virus such as this. So a good part of the funding that we recently have goes in towards our containment level 3 facility. And so that will ensure that we have all of the right equipment to work safely, but also at capacity, because we're trying to get, as many trained individuals working on the virus with the capacity so that we can make a difference. We're also in doing work with what's called serology, so looking at antibodies and really understanding, really important to understand how the antibodies work. Are they protective? Are they not protective? How many people have been exposed to the virus? So that gives us infrastructure to look at whole large cohorts of individuals and the serology or the antibody aspect. And also funding for sequencing, because as the virus changes, and it doesn't change as fast as some viruses, but it's still changing, we really need to understand how is the virus evolving, what are those changes, does that impact on vaccines or antiviral therapies? And so having, again, the capacity to sequence and get information from hundreds of thousands of different patient samples is also really, really important. So this equipment or this infrastructure really enables us to move all of those studies forward much, much quicker.
When you see, the drug giant Pfizer saying they have a COVID vaccine that prevents 90% of infections, what does that mean for the overall, in terms of a vaccine that can help with the virus? And also, how does it impact your own research?
So it's really exciting to start to hear that a number of these companies are moving forward on their phase 3 clinical trials. We know Pfizer's not the only one. There has been a concerted effort across the globe, really, to look for a number of different vaccines. There's been lots of different strategies, and hopefully more than just one will be successful. And so it's very exciting and very important, because again, this is not now just a very localized sort of infection. This pandemic has affected the entire globe. So the more we learn from all of these studies, the more we can all continue to move forward, because it's, one vaccine is not going to be enough to it's not going to necessarily work for everyone or have the availability. So the more we learn from all of these clinical trials, the more we can keep moving forward to know which vaccines are the best for which groups of individuals, which are going to have the most, efficacy under certain conditions. If an individual can't take a vaccine for some reason, then what are some of the other antiviral strategies we can use? So it's really exciting. And the more information we have, it's been unprecedented in this pandemic, the sharing of information. So I think that's a good thing that has come out of this particular pandemic.
The vast amount of conspiracy theories that exist now, but one of the big ones is that scientists and researchers are lying about the virus to line their own pockets. Can you confirm that you haven't become an instant millionaire because of the coronavirus?
No, we don't. No, we don't line our pockets doing this. It's and even the I've heard a lot about the companies too that are making either vaccines or therapies or drugs, that they're only in this for the money. I mean, the reality is it costs a lot of money to make a drug like this. It's the basic research that goes behind it. It's clinical trials where you have tens of thousands of people enrolled in clinical trials. It's analyzing the data. It's producing the vaccines. It's making sure they're pure and safe. It costs millions and millions to get to this point. So the drug companies do have to recover, or else they would never have money to help fund these studies to begin with. But it's certainly not, it's certainly not a money making. We do it because we want to make a difference. I mean, it's an exciting to be in the position to contribute and to work. But no, those are conspiracy theories. I'm still driving a 10-year-old RAV4.
Thanks for clearing that up for us. I appreciate that. So I guess lastly, what is it about this virus specifically that caught everyone off guard? Maybe not everyone, but it just seems to have kind of caught most people off guard. And what can be done to prevent a similar incident in the future?
So it's a really interesting virus because in some ways it it's a coronavirus. It's very similar to the SARS coronavirus that caused the pandemic back in 2002, 2003. This is why it's called SARS-CoV-2, because it's the second one from the original SARS. So in some ways it's similar, but in some ways it's those small differences that have made it very, very different. So it's not as lethal, but it spreads much, much better. So with the original SARS, you knew if you were infected. You got very, very sick. We didn't have a lot of what we call inapparent or sort of those asymptomatic infections. So if you were infected, you were very, very sick and likely hospitalized. So in some ways, it's much easier to contain the virus because it's likely you're in a hospital and you know you're sick. Whereas this one, it's similar enough, very similar type of virus, but you can be asymptomatic and it spreads really, really quickly. And so in many ways, even when it looked like when we knew in 2019 there was a new coronavirus, we're getting bits of information coming out of China because that's where it started. I think we thought it would be more like the original SARS, and we're taken a little bit by surprise by how quickly it spread and how easily it spread, and how we could have so many people that were infected and shedding the virus, but no symptoms. So I think that really teaches us a lesson that we do need to be prepared, not just, with vaccines, but with policies, supply chain, having enough PPE on stock, but not so much where we've had it sitting in warehouses for 10 years that it's now, not good anymore. So I think there's a lot that we've learned on how do we need to be prepared? What do we need to think about? What are the policies we need to put in place? And so hopefully, we will have learned from this and be much, much better prepared, because there will be another one. Whether I think it'll even be in my lifetime, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we do need to be prepared that, there's been 2 in less than 10 years. So, or in less than 20 years, 2003 till now. So 2 in less than 20 years, I don't think this is the end of global pandemics.
So that when you hear about, Barack Obama had that pandemic response team, and then things kind of moved to this isolationist type mentality from a lot of people and a lot of different governments. But, when we talk about global pandemic teams and sharing research with other countries, and, how important is it because the world is small now. People travel all over the place. We have people interact with social media and things like that. It's a smaller world. It's impossible to be isolationist in this world. So how important is it that we work and help, fund other programs in different countries and just work to kind of even educate the rest of the world? This is a collaborative effort that needs to be done, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It's especially with travel. You can get anywhere in the world now within 48 hours. And so with that sort of travel, no part of the globe is immune. And we are, it might seem a bit corny, but we are all in this together. And it's such a complex issue that it's not just about the biology or the science. It is about, government policy, public policy. It's like having an enormous jigsaw puzzle, and even our lab, the work that we're doing, we're maybe doing one small piece of a 1 million piece jigsaw puzzle. So if we're not working with everybody else to try to put that puzzle together, we'll never move forward. And there's not unlimited resources. Resources are limited either within a given country or globally. And so you want to maximize on not just, resources in monetary resources, but also the knowledge. It's a global problem. It's going to take a global solution. And, fortunately, at least from the science side, which we're involved in, the collaboration and cooperation has been unprecedented. And I really, really do hope that continues moving forward.
Okay. And I guess before I let you go, I know you deal in science, you deal in facts, you deal in data. You're not about just, making guesses. So I'll frame it this way. Are you at least hopeful that we're close to maybe getting this under control in the form of a vaccine?
I am hopeful. I mean, with the news of, the Pfizer, successes, I am hopeful. Is that going to be a vaccine that's going to be, 100% effective, one shot, never have to take a vaccine ever again? What we're learning about these coronaviruses, the answer is likely no. And it's not just Pfizer. There are, if you look at the number of other studies of other types of vaccines and antivirals, there are hundreds and hundreds of clinical trials happening around the world. And so I am very hopeful that we'll have a number of vaccines. We'll have a number of antiviral therapies eventually. Will they be 100% effective and you only need one shot and then you're immune for life? Probably not. But are they going to allow us to, bring down the burden of the disease, bring down, the number of people that are infected and spreading? I think it will. And so collectively, that's going to have a huge impact, and it's going to allow us to open up more and get back to, I don't know what the new normal is. I don't think we'll ever go back to the way it was before. I think we're into a new normal, but it will collectively allow us to get back to whatever that new normal looks like.
Yeah, and again, just a reminder, people. I mean, this is happening. Your research, it's happening in Hamilton, which is a testament to um, how Hamilton's kind of taken this new identity where steel town and kind of this blue collar town to, and there's still some of that, but now playing a role in a global pandemic because of the health sciences that are involved in this city. So it's a testament to the city as well.
Absolutely. And we've been really fortunate at McMaster that, for many years, we've had the Institute for Infectious Disease Research. They've always, from its inception, been a multidisciplinary, tackling these issues of antimicrobial resistance and infections from, multiple angles. We've been very fortunate, not just for government funding, like what this announcement is, but from some really generous donors, and some local donors. So it's that generosity over the years that has allowed us to not do something new, but to continue to do what, and this is in McMaster's DNA, evidence-based, multidisciplinary. And so it's what we do, and it's what we do really, really well. And it's so the funding that we did get as a group is just a testament to, to the work that we've done and the generosity of local donors that have enabled that over the years.
All right. We could talk all day about this stuff, but I'll let you go. You have much more important things to do. Karen Mossman, Dr. Mossman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.